Hey everyone, welcome back to Pretending with Dice. As always, I'm your host and game master, AJ. Before we get into today's episode, I just want to give a little bit of an update on something that we've had brewing for a little while. Eagle-eared listeners will maybe remember that in a previous intro, a little while back now, I must admit, I announced that we'd be recording a very special D&D one-shot with listeners on our Discord server. Well, we finally managed to get that organised, and we had a really great time recording it this past weekend. The episode itself, I think, is probably going to be going up on the feed around about the time that we hit episode 100, so a few weeks' time from now. But yeah, it was a super fun time. I was joined by three great players, Sharona, who's the voice of the computer on Frontier, Klepto, and Jeff, names that you might recognise as question submitters from our Q&A episode recently. And yeah, it was great to jump back into our homebrew D&D setting of Valana. So much fun, in fact, that I don't think this is going to be the only listener special that we end up doing. It was a great time. Basically then, all of this really to say, if you want the chance to maybe play some games with us, come and join us on our Discord server. I know we mention it a fair amount, but it's really become kind of our main hub for all sorts of podcast-related and non-podcast related, I guess, activities and things. There's a direct invite link to the server on pretendingwithdice.com, as well as in our Twitter bio. So yeah, come and join us. All right then. So I think without any further ado, it's time to get into today's episode. Enjoy. So, Murphy has gone to meet the captain at the airlock. Jonny has gone to hurriedly put on a uniform. Ireela...
Yep. Kind of looks down at herself as like, maybe a fresh uniform is not a bad idea.
Yeah, or are you also still in your dress uniform the night before, or did you change into, like, working clothes when you got back to sick bay?
I imagine she's probably got changed at some point during the night.
Yeah. But you've kind of been napping wearing this uniform and things and stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Doesn't hurt to freshen up. Okay. Well, we've got two groups to jump between again. Who do we go with first? I think we were going to follow Murphy, weren't we, to meet the captain?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Murphy, you head to the ship's airlock, where you find Captain Collins waiting for you. He doesn't look impatient or anything like that, and looks up and nods as you approach. Murphy, thank you for coming. This briefing was supposed to be for Ray, Tallinn, and I, and, our opposite numbers on the other ships, but I appreciate you stepping in on such short notice.
Of course, sir.
A team from the Daystrom Institute will be in attendance to go over some of the more in-depth scientific aspects of the voyage. I know that's not really your department, but
I'll try. I'll take a lot of notes, sir.
Good. I'm sure Commander Ray will appreciate that once he's back on his feet.
Yeah, as soon as Ray's better, I'm sure he'll be straight on it.
All right. Shall we?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so he leads the way off of the Tenzing and through the into the not into the same section of of Deep Space 3 that you went to for the reception, into a more kind of working Starfleet area rather than the sort of reception areas where the party was held. This is more into kind of
like the staff corridors kind of thing, where it's like the it's more the behind the
scenes sort of working areas of the station rather than not quite as fancy. You shortly arrive outside a pair of double doors with a sign reading Main Auditorium. There's a couple of security officers standing guard outside. They look fairly relaxed, but they're to attention. Commander Tillin is waiting for you. Ah, Captain. Lieutenant Commander Murphy. I was not expecting you.
Sir, I'm afraid Lieutenant Commander Ray is in sick bay. I'll come along and just take more notes for him and offer any assistance I can.
Of course. All right then, Commanders. Let's head in. Collins leads the way into the auditorium, a fairly large room, which as you enter you can see is laid out in a sort of amphitheatre design, rising rows of seats arranged around a central platform, which looks to have a sort of podium and a built-in holoprojector unit of some sort placed on it. It's not full to capacity in here by any stretch. It's a pretty big chamber, but there are several groups of officers arranged around in the seats, as well as a few civilian scientists and other officials, it looks like. Seated in a central position, however, is a row of 6 other Starfleet officers, some of whom you may recognise from the party. These are the captains, first officers and science officers of the Nelson and the Auckland. As you make your way in, I mean, there's still some quiet conversations going on throughout the room. People are just sort of generally waiting for the briefing to start.
It's kind of like a lecture almost, and like a presentation of like what they know so far, kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And where they're going to be focusing their areas of study and what the overarching aim of the mission is.
Yeah. Collins leads the 3 of you to sit next to the command crew of the USS Nelson. The Nelson's captain stands up to greet Collins as he does so. You haven't met her personally before, Murphy, but she's a human, mid-40s, brown hair, tied back. She shakes Collins' hand in a rather formal way. Captain Collins, Captain Richards, good to see you. Did you enjoy the reception last night? Yes, we did. Thank you. They sit down, and you just catch the Nelson's first officer, a Betazoid female, quickly looking back and forth between the 2 captains, with a sort of slightly wide-eyed look and a slight smirk for just a second before they compose themselves, poker face fully in place, but maybe not fully hiding the smirk in time for you to not catch it.
Murphy is just going to grin and just try and hide it a bit.
Okay, so Tillin takes a seat next to the captain. You're sitting down next to her, I take it?
Yep, we just pull up my pew and take a seat and take out a pad and just kind of casually keeping an eye on the Betazoid and because Murphy's probably clocked on to the fact that she's probably aware of what's going on between the 2 captains, and Murphy's like, gossip.
Yeah. There's clearly, there might be some gossip happening here. Obviously,
filing that information away for later for Ray when he wakes up. Ray, when you were unconscious, man.
It all happened.
You missed it. You missed it.
They're acting very professionally towards each other now, let's just say.
It's gossip for the crew.
Gossip
for the crew.
You're not waiting too long before the lights dim in the amphitheatre and Admiral Holt steps up to the podium. He taps the mic a couple of times before starting. Well, looks like we're about all here. I want to welcome you all to Deep Space 3 for the start of what promises to be a historic endeavour. He presses a button on the podium and the holoprojector hums to life, and projected into the air above the central platform is the Starfleet insignia, and next to it something that you haven't seen yet, a mission badge for the expedition. It's circular and features silhouettes of the 3 expedition vessels on a background of blue stars. Text around the badge reads Bermuda Cluster Expedition 2378, Tenzing, Auckland, Nelson.
Woo!
Yeah. I want to begin by thanking our colleagues from the Daystrom Institute for spearheading this initiative. Indicates the small group of civilian scientists who are sat in one of the rows to his left. There's a sort of polite round of applause from everybody, but more on a kind of like, okay, we're all at a conference together sort of thing. Like, I want to welcome to the stage, sort of this sort of feeling about it. There's not like a, yeah, Daystrom Institute kind of like response. One guy in the back with a foam finger on.
It's not a party college then.
Yeah, all they do is particle physics, and they put that to use in coming up with new cocktails. Dr. Norman will start with your presentation, I think, if you'd like to come up. The lead scientist stands up. This is a human man. He looks a little bit older. He looks to be mid-60s. Oh, that's tough to gauge. He steps forward and says, "Thank you, Admiral. I'm glad to finally meet you. Meet you all. My apologies for not being able to attend last night's reception. My transport was sadly delayed." And he presses a button on the control panel, and the expedition badge and the Starfleet logo disappear to be replaced with what you know is a representation in 3D of the Bermuda cluster itself. Here's the object of our expedition, the Bermuda cluster. I'm sure you all read the initial briefing you were given when this expedition was being formed. You recall Captain Collins sort of giving you a sort of brief rundown of what the mission was going to be back when you were back at Earth, which I can recap now if that would be helpful.
Yes, please.
Essentially, the Bermuda cluster is it's a star cluster, but it's been cut off really from access from the rest of the galaxy for what the scientists believe to be about 600 years, due to a sort of series of sort of subspace storms that are focused around it. So while it does look from the outside visually like any other cluster of stars, warp travel into and out of the cluster has been impossible. So as a result, nobody's been in there. Nobody knows what's going on in there or anything like that. But over the last sort of 25 years, the intensity of the outer sort of storm edge has kind of dropped a little bit, but dropped to the point where Starfleet feels comfortable attempting to mount an expedition again. It had been attempted before, over 100 years ago, and any sort of ships that have tried to go in have been lost while at warp. So that's why nobody's been there, basically. That's kind of all I'd said before, I think, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the super short version. The doctor continues. He says, as you all know, this is a sort of uncharted territory for us here, right on the border of the Federation space as well. So ripe for the exploration. He's a little nervous as he's giving his presentation. You get the feeling he doesn't do a whole lot of public speaking. The role of the expedition is something that your Starfleet types would be used to. The purely seeing what's out there. We have never had a chance to investigate any of the star systems within the cluster itself, and now that we think that we'll have the ability to, this is the time. But specifically, we are interested in firstly, what the source of the subspace storms have been, and why they are now abating. Really, what has changed in 600 years of this? They've been pretty much a constant throughout, and why have they dipped now? So that would be a secondary objective, obviously. Exploring, how do you put it? Strange new worlds. That's the primary concern. He presses a button on the control panel again, and the 3D model of the cluster sort of zooms in and part of it begins sort of. It's highlighted and sort of flashing. You can see here. This is one of the closest sections of the cluster, and thankfully for us, this is going to be our entry point. We've taken to calling it the gateway, and it's an area of the subspace stormfront that seems to have weakened significantly more than those around it. It's a very narrow passageway through the storm, but we believe we should be able to penetrate through while at warp, at least easier than anywhere else in the cluster. We are not 100% sure, but we believe once you're past the worst of it and into the cluster itself, then the going should be a little easier. We might be able to continue regular flight. But this will be our entry point, the gateway.
A lot of it's maybe going over Murphy's head because it's an awful lot of science talk as well.
Yeah.
Like he's maybe getting into like certain aspects of things that they've detected so far already. He's like, ooh.
Yeah, there's talk about kind of strengths of subspace storms and field strengths. There's a lot of physics talk and that.
Yeah, she's taking notes, but she's like storms.
Yeah.
Stuff about subspace weirdness.
Are you literally writing stuff about the words stuff about subspace storms? Or... Yeah,
it's like Stormfront has been weakened, is allowing us passage through a thing called the gateway. ? Is it basically a tunnel? She's like little notes at her side for notes as well, going what, like for Ray when she hands him the pad, going, what does this mean? It
does. I will say as well, on the 3D representation, the bit that they called the gateway does kind of look like a tunnel through the outer edges of the storm, kind of thing.
Okay,
a bit almost like a riptide kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what she was thinking. Yeah.
So it's basically like a bit of the storm edge where it's sort of collapsing faster than the others. That's going to maybe be the easiest point to try and fly in. You do notice as well I guess are you glancing around as you do this?
Yeah.
The science officers on the one Ray's opposite numbers, they are taking. You can see more in-depth notes than you're taking.
They know what they're talking about.
They know what they're talking about. Yeah.
Murphy feels like she's like came out of you've walked into a language class and never studied the language before, and you're sitting there and everybody around you has like been in this class for maybe 4 years, and you've maybe just joined it and you're like, I have no idea.
Like you've maybe heard some of these words on a TV program, but you definitely can't speak the language so well. Yeah, you could maybe say hello and ask where the library is.
Yeah. I could tell you what a microscope is.
Yeah.
And how a cell is formed and things like that. What
the powerhouse of the cell is and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure Ray will appreciate any notes that you can take.
She's going to be honest with them and be like, I don't know how useful any of my notes are going to be.
Yeah.
But I tried. 10 out of 10 for effort.
Yeah. I mean, you turned up. It's better than Ray did.
He has an excuse. Oh, poor Ray.
It's poor attitude is what it is. You know, he's there sleeping in sickbay instead of coming to briefings.
He's in pain.
Yeah. At this point, though, like, what are Murphy's thoughts on everything?
I kind of think internally she's thinking, I really hope those storms don't pick back up. Because that's like always in the back of her mind, though. But she knew that from like the get-go, because it's been 600 years since the last time, and she's like, well, 600 years is a long time to be stuck somewhere with no hope and stuff of rescue. Or I would imagine it would be like the Voyager being stuck. Well, not so much.
But they were going to be 70 years at warp 9, wasn't it, to get back?
Yeah. So it's even more. It would feel like it was longer, and they'd only gone like 10.
Well, you could go at sublight speeds. It would just take quite a while to get out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just kind of thinking in the back of the mind.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Admiral Holt steps back up to the podium at this point. The basic hierarchy and roles of the expedition will be thus. Overall command will fall to Captain Collins aboard the USS Tenzing. Gives Collins a nod. The USS Nelson under Captain Richards will act as the expedition's vanguard. And finally, the USS Auckland under Captain Karata will act as fast support wherever needed, as well as being responsible for the deployment of a subspace beacon network to allow contact between the expedition and Starfleet Command. We really have no idea what you'll find in there, so open lines of communication will be key. Now, the next point is important. In light of the centuries of subspace disturbances, Starfleet has authorized a temporary amendment to General Order 1 for the expedition. It's unlikely that any civilizations you may encounter within the cluster have developed their own warp technology due to the conditions within. As such, the warp flight requirement for the Prime Directive is being temporarily suspended. Whether to make first contact will instead be down to the judgment and discretion of each of you captains. I don't need to tell you this is an unusual change, but given the unique circumstances, Starfleet Command has made this determination.
Is that because they wouldn't be able to have a stable field?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That kind of makes sense.
I mean, especially, given how tricky it was to navigate the Prime Directive in your, recent incident with the Triterans, the gravity of this temporary amendment to the directive isn't lost on you. So, while the briefing's going on then, Jonny and Ireela, where are you? What are you doing?
Well, Johnny's rushed back to quarters. If Bonge has reacted to his return,
Bonge is lying on his back with his eyes closed, sweating quite a lot, but with a glass of water next to his bed, and the warp core sounds are still playing.
Okay, so Johnny rushes into the room and starts immediately getting changed. And continues. If Bonge has anything to say, then
he doesn't really react. You get the feeling it's like he's passed out again.
Okay. So Johnny just gets changed then and rushes back as quick as possible to sickbay.
Okay. I guess we're going on to the station then.
Well, who are we going to speak to first? Are we going to speak to that the aristocrat that you mentioned?
Just to recap for you the list of joined Trill that you have to work from that Murphy put together. Aboard the Tenzing, you've got Lieutenant Commander Fell, who's the Deputy Science Head and is the first host of her symbiote. Mm-hmm. Aboard the station, though, you've got Lady Alara Rahl, who's an 11th generation host. There's a Starfleet engineer named Lieutenant Timo Char, who is a 4th generation host. And finally, there's a business owner named Ula Paul, who is a 6th generation host.
Yeah.
So that's your 4 names.
I've got them all written down.
Okay. Judging by the information that Lieutenant Commander Murphy searched out, it does look like the aristocrat is probably our best bet of getting answers. I think we start with the aristocrat, and then if we need more information at that point, we'll go and speak to the lieutenant.
Hi, Commander.
On the station, is there a way can we ask the computer where Lady Alara is?
Yeah, I mean, once you're on the station, you could ask the station computer for a sort of directory listing or something.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Actually, just because she's slightly paranoid, the doctor is going to go over to a console to check, to ask where Lady Alara is, and to be shown on the map roughly where that is.
Sure.
because space stations are big.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, you briefly went aboard Deep Space 3 last night for the reception, and you even just from looking out of the window when you approach, you know this is quite a big space station. I mean, the ship you're on is very big, and the station is much bigger than the ship, basically.
So, are you asking the ship's computer? What are you doing? How are you going about this? Is what I'm asking.
I'm going to go to the console rather than give a verbal command.
Okay.
Just rather than, announcing to anyone within earshot so that, for some reason, a doctor is looking for an aristocrat.
We're starting a mystery.
Yes. Starting rumours and gossip.
Yeah.
Murphy's so sad. I wanted to be the detective. I'm the security officer. No, it's fine.
Security officer here.
Yeah, Jonny is as well. I feel bad about dragging you to the the briefing now, but as somebody needed to be there.
Karma. It's karma.
You wanted this just too much.
I wanted it too much. Yes, I did too much sleuthing in the beginning.
So yeah, I mean, typing in, you're able to bring up a map of the station, and Lady Ilara Ral is listed as VIP guest quarters in this. Surprisingly, you're a little surprised because the station does have extensive civilian sort of facilities and that, and hotels and things. She's listed as VIP guest quarters in the Federation section, the Starfleet section.
Jonny walks over to the terminal and sees this information and kind of like stiffens up and gives his uniform the old tug to straighten up, and says, "Oh, well, this looks like we're going to be dealing with some fancy people here."
Oh yeah. Hopefully they will be informative.
Fingers crossed.
As we start walking to get there, I'm going to fill Jonny in a little bit on what's going on. Because he's going to find out once I start asking questions anyway. Yeah. So
I mean, Jonny rarely gets briefed on what's happening, so I suppose this is
yeah, he's really attentive on that front, and we don't need to necessarily have you recap what's gone on, but like, yeah, he listens attentively and is concerned, and likely there's some part of him, there's some inkling of I'm getting into the inner circle here. There's a little bit of a feeling of that, but at the same time he's like, still the concern is the overwhelming thing.
Okay, so we can sort of say then it doesn't take you too long to find your way through the station, especially with Lady Ral staying in the Starfleet section. It's fairly straightforward to find your way through to her quarters. It does look like quite a fancy area, I will say. I mean, it's sort of decked out with the sort of standard Starfleet fixings and whatnot, and the standard design of that. But there's just quite a nice carpet and everything. It doesn't look like, okay, well, here's just another corridor with a bunch of crew quarters in it. This is, it looks like, oh, this is a nice bit. Mm-hmm. The doors are quite widely spaced apart, so you would guess that these are quite large quarters on this area and everything, and it's easy to get turned around in these space stations. You've got a vague idea that they would all be where they are. They would all have some quite extensive windows out into space and everything. So you find yourself at the door.
Jonny's feeling very apprehensive. This is again like a feeling, a little bit of a fish out of water feeling. This isn't the type of people that he's been around particularly. So he's a little anxious at the door, and he looks towards Commander Ireela with the expectant look again of sort of like, well, you're in charge.
Which one of us is going to press the button? Is this the conversation that's happening?
Pretty much.
In visual terms, like, yeah, he's just giving the awkward look of like, well, you go for it.
So Ireela takes a deep breath and then puts on her most professional doctor's face and presses the button.
But the door is very quickly answered by an older gentleman.
Ooh.
Tough to gauge the age, but also Trill, in a quite well-appointed sort of suit.
Mm.
Can I help you?
Hello. I am Commander Ireela, the doctor on board one of the ships currently stationed here. We were hoping that we might be able to get some background medical information. One of our officers is a joined Trill who is experiencing issues that we cannot find any documentation for.
Do you have an appointment to see Lady Rall?
No, unfortunately not. The situation occurred a few hours ago.
I'm afraid that the lady is quite busy. Without an appointment, I'm not sure we can accommodate you. From the background, you hear a sort of call, "Curie, who is it?" And the gentleman turns and says, "Some Starfleet personnel, madam. I was just informing them that you are quite busy this morning and unable to see them without an appointment." And you hear, "Oh, what nonsense! We're not meeting the Admiral for another hour. Please see to some refreshments for our guests." Stepping to the doorway is a quite I don't want to say fancily dressed, but sort of in simple clothes, but like you can tell they're well made.
Do they look handmade?
Well, I was going to say, yeah, the clothes, they're simple, but they look expensive in a way that, like, this is
quality.
Yes, this is a high quality outfit, but like it looks simple, but it's the kind of simple where like
it cost a fortune.
Yeah,
for it to be that simple.
It costs a fortune to look like it's very cheap. And wearing it with quite an elegant sort of necklace on, I'd say early middle-aged Trill lady, who you, I guess, I don't know, Doctor, did you see her at the, I don't know if you would have seen her at the reception last night.
I don't think so.
No, because you only briefly arrived and then Ray was having his trouble and you left again.
Yeah, because we were already at the table with our drinks when she came in through the door. So I don't think we really would have seen her. Unless she saw her at the end. Yeah,
all I'm thinking is that when the Doctor arrived at the reception, you arrived in time to see the captains talking, and then Murphy was like, "Doctor, we need your help." So I don't think you would have seen this lady, but this seems to be the lady who you were seeking. She says,
"My apologies for Curie. He can be quite zealous with my schedule."
That is fine, thank you, milady. I am Commander Ireela of the USS Tenzing, and this is one of our security ensigns. We were hoping to be able to talk to you about something today. May we step inside? It concerns an officer's medical information.
Of course, won't you come in? She welcomes you into her guest quarters, and now you're in here, you can see that actually this is a quite lavish suite of rooms. Jonny, you'd know from escorting the Draterans around previously what the Tenzing's VIP quarters are like, and these seem noticeably bigger than the ones aboard ship, nice as they are. This is essentially a quite large apartment. The main chamber, which Lady Rall leads you into, is a wide, finely appointed living space, one whole wall of which is taken up by a spectacular viewport looking out into space around the station. In fact, as you step inside and can't help but take in this view, you can actually see the Tenzing from here, docked a little further around the station circumference. She walks over to a lounge area of several comfortable-looking chairs arranged around a glass coffee table. "Please, have a seat. Curie should have some refreshments for us shortly." And she sits in one of the chairs herself.
Jonny does so.
The Doctor smiles and sits. Firstly, thank you for speaking to us. I'm not sure if this might be a somewhat sensitive topic. My colleague his symbiote was in an accident while with a previous host, and his current host is experiencing the pain similar to phantom amputee type pain from an accident that happened to the previous host.
If you don't mind me asking, what is your colleague's name?
Lieutenant Commander Sabine Ray.
Ray. No, I don't believe we've met, but then again, there are quite a few of us. Please, continue.
Unfortunately, I haven't been able to find any accessible medical information to look at how best to treat my colleague. Is this something which is... Is this something you have come across?
She looks pensive for a moment. When you say about accessible information, you get a kind of mixture of sort of annoyance and amusement combined, but not directed at you, if that makes sense.
Okay.
She leans forward in her seat a little bit, and she's looking at you quite intently now as she continues. Tell me, Doctor, what do you know of the Trill Symbiosis Commission?
Well, we don't know very much. We know that the committee exists and that it's in charge of the selection and the process. But as I'm sure you're aware, very little of any detail is made publicly available. And what little there is, I haven't been able to see anything that explains my colleague's condition.
The Commission is one of the main pillars of Trill society. You may know that only a small fraction of our species is capable of undergoing the joining ritual, and it is the Commission who identify and train potential hosts, ensuring that only those most capable of handling the responsibility of the joining are matched to a symbiote. They guard their secrets closely. The act of joining and continuing the chain of lives of the symbiotes is seen as something of a sacred calling and duty by many, not least those in the Commission. I am afraid you will find it very hard to get the answers you are seeking outside of the Commission themselves.
Surely there has to be someone that we would be able to talk to.
She just kind of regards you for a second.
Perhaps. If you would indulge me, Doctor, in a hypothetical. It is said that many of your own people can feel the emotions of those around you. A select few able to read minds completely, I hear. And yet there is much of this I'm sure that your people do not speak of with those not of Delta. Were our positions reversed, and I were asking for the secrets of the Deltans, what would your response be?
Really, how I would feel and respond would depend on the reasons that the person is asking me. If it's idle curiosity, then no, I probably wouldn't tell them anything. However, if it's information where someone's life is at stake, and I can give information that may save that patient, of course I would answer.
Ireela, can I get a presence command check from you then? Difficulty 2, I think.
Okay. That's 9 and an 8.
Okay. Lady Rahl nods slowly.
A most interesting answer. It just so happens my 7th host, Vienna, in her own time, sat on the Symbiosis Evaluation Board. I may be able to help you with what you seek.
Thank you.
I can make no guarantees, you must understand. The condition of your colleague, as you have described, is unfamiliar to me, but I would be happy to examine him.
Certainly. Is there any particular time which would suit you best?
I have a lunch engagement with the Admiral and certain other Starfleet members in an hour or so, but perhaps I could come by this afternoon at some point. Forgive me, which ship was it you said you were from?
We're on the USS Tenzing.
Ah, yes, of the expedition, isn't it? I believe I had the honour of speaking to your captain at the reception last night, although I don't believe you and I had the pleasure.
No, I was called away unexpectedly that evening.
A shame. Here comes Curie with the drinks.
You see, Curie has reappeared with a tray of variety of looks to be teas on it. She sort of gestures towards the table, and he puts the tray down on it and shuffles off. She picks up a glass of what looks to be some kind of tea, and sips at it, sort of again looking thoughtful, not dismissive, but sort of. There are 2 other cups on there as well, if you two would like them. But it's not like he's just brought her a drink and gone.
I mean, that would be a very clear dismissal.
It's a power move. I'll give you that. Yeah.
Jonny picks up his glass then and takes a sniff. Has he had this before?
Probably not.
Probably not. How does this smell to his palate?
It's a little richer than you're used to. I don't know. What is Jonny? Jonny strikes me more as a coffee drinker than a tea drinker, if it comes to hot drinks at all.
Yeah, I think you're right. For extra energy, that's what he'd be going for.
Yeah, I mean, it's maybe a little fancier than you're used to.
He tentatively takes a sip then.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice, but you haven't really had anything like this before. It's clearly it's not replicated either. This is made from real ingredients.
Cool. If he happens to catch the lady's eye, then he'll give a polite nod as he kind of sips the drink.
What do you make of it, Ensign?
It's interesting. I've not had this before.
Yes, I'd imagine you have not. The leaves of this blend are grown specially on my family estate.
Ireela quickly has a sip. It's wonderful tea. Goodness. Well, it's been a long time since I had anything of this quality.
I'm glad you enjoy it. This year's crop was most fruitful, I'm told. I shall have to ask Curie to send a consignment to your ship for you.
Up until this point, Jonny's been pretty stiff in the chair. But drinking the tea, he kind of sits back and relaxes. And crosses a leg. And just kind of sits back and... yeah. Waits to see if this lady's going to tell stories or something.
I suspect we will finish our tea and politely excuse ourselves. Yeah, Ireela is kind of wanting to get both of us out of there.
Okay.
Before we can say something that might screw up our chances of her helping, basically.
Okay. Yeah.
Before one of us puts our foot in it.
Yeah.
Accidentally offends her or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, here's what I'll say then. So, you don't get a bad feeling off of her in terms of empathically or otherwise. But she does seem, although she's friendly, she does seem very guarded in terms of it's almost like she's putting on not like a front, but it's a friendly face, but she only is saying what she wants to say. That makes sense.
I can imagine the type, the kind of the rich folk that have salons and that kind of stuff, where they meet a lot of people and they have to carouse a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're good at putting up a front.
Yeah.
Our symbiote is also quite old, 11 generations as well, so she's gonna have information about the Trill that the Trill don't want to be shared.
Yeah, you definitely got, when I would say the what was not being said when she said, I might have some information that might be helpful. The insinuation, I think, could be made there. If she's saying one of her previous hosts was on the board of the Symbiosis Commission, it would be very strange if she didn't know anything about this.
Yes, she knows something about it. She's not going to tell us if there's any possible way around it.
Yeah, that's the vibe that you could probably pick up on.
Yeah.
So yeah, the pair of you finish your tea and you sort of politely excuse yourself. And again, she's courteous and friendly and that and everything. And you don't pick up. I would say you don't pick up any malice off of her, or there's a low level of impatience from Curie, her butler. But you put that down to just general butlering. You were an unexpected guest,
nanny.
and he's very focused on her schedule and things.
And we have eaten into her preparation time.
Yes, yeah.
I can picture him ushering us out kind of quickly to get on with the day.
Yes, basically. And the two of you find yourselves back in the corridor.
Well, I guess we'll be coming back later. See if we get some more tea, I suppose.
Well, hopefully she'll be coming to us. I would rather not wake Ray too early. I see no reason for him to be in distress while waiting.
I agree. Well, we should head on and check out some of these other leads.
I think we could probably leave that until after Lady Alara Ral has had a chance to visit. I don't think we're going to find anyone more knowledgeable than a former council member of the Symbiosis Commission. That's right at the very top.
That's fair. Jonny looks a little bit crestfallen, like he was ready to go on and play investigations and all the rest of the stuff, kind of in the same way Murphy. Like, they're security officers. There's a certain amount of, we've got leads and all that kind of stuff. We should be following this, but he's a little bit crestfallen. But
the doctor gives him a pat on the shoulder. He's like, well, if we need to do more investigating, I will definitely let you know.
He brightens up. Hi, Commander.
Hey, you and Murphy can find another mystery to...
We'll have our chance. Well, what should we do in the meantime, Commander?
Well, as far as I'm aware, your time is your own today.
Well, that's true. What time should we reconvene?
If the lady is having lunch with the Admiral, not before 1400 hours, I would imagine. Do you want to fill in Lieutenant Commander Murphy?
Aye, sir.
Ireela smiles and she's like, that's fine. I give Jonny a task that'll keep him out of trouble.
Because they're trying to get rid of Jonny.
Not to get rid of him, more one of us should update Murphy, and
no, that's fair.
one of us will gain more benefit from it than the other.
Yeah. Plus Ireela can go and have a nap, I guess.
Yep. I've not slept properly yet.
Okay, so Jonny says, computer, where is Lieutenant Commander Murphy?
Lieutenant Commander Murphy is in the main auditorium.
So Jonny gives Ireela a nod and turns about and heads off to try and catch Murphy on the way out.
Okay. So let's say that Ireela, you're able to just head back to the ship. Jonny, it doesn't take you long to get there, and it's a closed door with there is a red sort of warning sign on the panel outside saying briefing in progress, do not enter. There's a pair of Starfleet security officers, one on either side of the door. You're in uniform, thankfully, so it doesn't look weird. It's not like you're rocking up in your party clothes or anything. They both sort of give you a nod as you approach. Ensign?
Is it still morning or is it afternoon right now?
It's sort of...
Still morning, I guess, because we were talking about
mid-morning, yeah.
Okay. Good morning. I'm just here waiting for one of my commanding officers. Got some information that I need to give to them.
I'm sure the briefing shouldn't last too much longer. They've been in there a while. This is another ensign who's talking to you, so he's not like... Yeah. He doesn't have any more information than you have about what's going on in the briefing, only that it's going on in a while. And there's a bit of a kind of, okay, we're all the same level here, sort of thing.
Okay.
So it says, feel free to wait, I guess.
Will do. Jonny's going to kind of just wait diligently. He's going to kind of take a attentive stance kind of off to the side of these guys.
You're joining in the security stance lineup.
Yeah, to some extent.
Fair enough.
See, you can flex the most.
So Murphy then, inside the briefing is being brought to a close by the Admiral, and the last thing that's sort of added is that the team from the Daystream Institute will be joining the expedition. They will be coming along with you aboard the Tenzing. It's a small group. It's 4 or 5 scientists and that, and it's kept a bit vague, but the understanding is that they're sort of going to be acting independently, but also slightly deferring to Starfleet, but kind of doing their own thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. They've got their own like research aims and things like that.
Yeah. Not like completely separate from the general aims of the expedition, but like they have their own specific experiments and things they maybe want to be getting on with and that. And as the Institute was the one that sort of proposed the expedition in the first place, they kind of want to have somebody there. So yeah, the briefing begins to sort of break up as yourself and Collins and Tallinn kind of leave the seating area. The Admiral comes forward and says,
Collins, I have a lunch appointment with Lady Rahl very shortly. Wondered if you wanted to join us. Sounds wonderful, sir. I'll be honored to attend. Commander Tallinn, are you happy to return to the Tenzing and begin preparations? Yes, Captain. Commander Murphy and I will begin work immediately.
Sir?
So as the captain stays with the Admiral to go to lunch, you and Tallinn head for the door. As you step outside, you're surprised to find Jonny waiting for you.
Surprised, but also kind of like a little bit worried at the same time, going,
yeah,
why are you here?
It's more in a like you weren't expecting him to be there rather than like, what are you doing? Jonny, sort of thing.
Yeah. Yep. Ensign?
Lieutenant Commander? I've got a update on the situation. We spoke to Lady Rahl, and we've arranged a appointment for this afternoon. It seems like she might be a good lead on this, and she seemed quite guarded when we spoke to her. But yeah, we'll have to see what kind of information she's willing to give.
Trills. They're a secretive bunch. They're all nice and bouncy and friendly on the outside, but underneath, they just have the same secrets everybody else does. She'll tell us what we need to know eventually, only if we need to know. As long as it helps Ray, I'm not fussed what she has to say. As long as it helps.
Well, here's hoping.
Tallinn has raised an eyebrow at your "they're all fun and bouncy on the outside" comment.
She's just gonna glance at Trill and be like, I'm right, Commander.
I would not want to comment on the bounciness of Trills, Lieutenant Commander.
She's just gonna give her a sly look going, what does that mean? But she's not gonna ask that question out loud.
That's about as close to a joke as you've heard Tallinn make.
Yeah, that's why she's kind of like, I'm sorry, what? And then she's gonna turn back to Jonny and be like, okay, thank you, Ensign. I believe it's your day off.
Aye, sir.
Go. Thank you.
Okay. And he kind of turns about and heads off back to quarters.
Murphy's just gonna turn to Lynn and be like, so eager. Bouncy, right?
Again, she's just sort of eyebrow and inclines her head. And I don't think she would have anything to say to that. She's sort of
just raise an eyebrow and just be like,
gives the classic Spock look.
Yeah, it's the classic Spock look sort of thing.
Murphy's just going to chuckle and is like, shall we, Commander?
Indeed, Lieutenant Commander. Shall we?
And I guess you all head... Well, I don't know where Jonny's going, but you all head off to...
Yeah, back to quarters to begin with.
Yeah.
Okay, that's going to do it for today's episode. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time on Thursday, July 14th for the continuation of this story. And we hope you'll all join us for that. In the meantime, you can find links to all of our online presences, including our Discord server, our merch store, our Ko-Fi page, and more at pretendingwithdice.com. For now, that's our show. We hope you all enjoyed it. See you next time.